We recognise the Kaurna people as the custodians of the lands and waters of the Adelaide region and pay our respects to elders past and present. We acknowledge and respect the Kaurna people's cultural, spiritual, physical and emotional connection with their land, waters and community, and we extend that respect to all Aboriginal and First Nations people. Welcome to Amy and. I'm Amy Matthews and I'm here today to introduce you to some of the cast of Amy and, the new podcast, which is just about bookish things and lots of fun stuff. So I'm here today with Millie Heffernan.
That's me.
And Justina Ashman.
Hello.
And Abby Guy.
Hi.
So we're going to get to know you guys, which is going to be fun. These questions will be a bit easier because I wrote them and Peyton didn't. Peyton's questions I find very hard to answer.
Peyton's are very clever and I'm not a clever answerer.
Well, you might need time to think about it.
We should pivot this episode. Instead of introducing ourselves,
We should
let's all just
introduce
talk about Peyton. Yeah.
Oh, that's actually a great idea. Okay, this is unplanned, but I like this. I want everyone to describe Peyton in 3 words and then Harry in 3 words, and then I'll get them to describe you guys. So
I think it's quite cruel to make us think of words again.
Yeah, haven't we already done this?
Okay, you've got a couple of minutes to think, Justina.
Okay,
so we'll start with maybe Millie. Peyton in 3 words.
Oh, I thought this would be collaborative.
Oh, we can do it if you want, but
Do it individually.
kick
as well.
it off, Millie. One word.
Insightful, introspective,
Surprising.
Clever.
I was going to say unique, like very unique thinker.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Well, we got lots of words there.
Online.
Online, yeah.
Trending. All right, what about Harry? Abby, you can start this one. You know him so well.
I'm just going to go with funny. I'll be nice.
Glamorous.
Oh, yeah.
kind.
Gay.
Someone had to say it.
Someone had to say
before he got in there.
He won't object to that.
No.
All right, so that's those guys. Now we're going to introduce each of you. So we're going to start with you, Justina. Do you want to tell everyone a bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm it's going to be quite clear that a lot of us are PhD students, of Amy's specifically. And my research is in queer historical romance, especially World War II era. But I do a lot of different things. That's just sort of...
You do. You have done a lot of festivals, I've noticed.
Yeah.
Like, you've actually worked on a lot of different kinds of festivals.
I kind of have. This is, again...
Unplanned, just happened.
I love projects, probably to my detriment sometimes because I do too many all at the same time and then get very stressed out.
But they happen. So you've done a film festival. What's the film festival called?
The film festival is called Test Fest, and it's specifically a film festival of test screenings of local Adelaide films. And last year we sort of expanded it a little bit and put in a few panels about filmmaking and like a little bit more like, behind the scenes discussion type things.
And then this year, 2025, you're convening the Context Literary Festival?
Yes, I'm the guest programmer for
Awesome.
Writers SA for their Context Literary Festival. And that's sort of full steam ahead at the moment, locking people in for
You've done
programming.
heaps of festivals and you've also done like a bit of editing. You've edited stuff.
I did a degree in spelling, is what I tell everyone.
Oh, that's pretty
a
cool.
master's degree
I need
in
that.
spelling. And I still can't spell somehow, but I know when to look it up. I know when a word looks wrong.
That's what spell check is for.
Yeah.
Well,
But
AI is replacing us all. So
I turn my spell checker off because I find it too annoying. But the problem is that it's like way too overconfident. Like when I'll turn it on before I like submit a document. I'm like, oh no, there's so many typos in this.
I'm still surprised by what I can't spell.
Oh,
Like I'm
basic
embarrassed
words.
by it. Basic
Yeah,
words, I'll be
me.
like, I'll just quickly Google that and make sure I've spelt it correctly. I should know after like that long.
I find it weird. Like I can do some really obscure words, like in the McBrides, they use the most obscure words. That I'm fine with, but really simple words like February, I can't ever spell right. I always have this pause of like, which one's the right one?
I always put a random I in the word original. Like I always write it as original, and I don't know why.
I think we should just go with that from now on.
Oh
English
wait,
is
it's a
an
random,
evolving
or is that a
language.
random O? I don't know. I don't know how to spell this word anymore.
A random I
I
and a no. It could be either.
only remember the incorrect spelling that I always do.
Anyway, so I'm going to like speak Justina for you. So when she says she's got a degree in spelling, you actually have done publishing and editing, right? And you've worked for Kill Your Darlings
Yeah.
and you guest edited the first issue of Splinter, the new literary magazine.
Yeah, I was on the editorial committee for that with Abby, actually.
With Abby. So that's a good segue. So now, Abby
And then
can
we move
introduce
off from
herself.
me.
Damn it. Okay, you want me to introduce myself? Cool, yeah.
Wing it.
Wing it. Okay. I have a bachelor's degree in creative writing, and I also have an honours degree, an honours in creative writing, and now I'm doing the PhD in creative writing. So I write
That's
a lot.
a theme.
Yeah. I do art. I've done art for a few different things now, including covers, like book covers, graphics for branding.
Including the Test Fest poster from last year.
Test poster.
Yeah,
Which
she's
is
done
very cool.
done the book covers for all the anthologies that come through Flinders and did all the Amy Ann branding. So thank you for that.
No worries. It's fun. It's really, I'm really good at procrastinating productively.
Yeah.
So I do all of that instead of writing.
I'm a really big believer in like productive procrastination. I think if you have lists of things you have to do, the minute you like need to procrastinate, you just do something useful.
Yeah.
A lot happens that way.
Yeah. But then, yeah, I'm also animal obsessed, I guess, is what I'll end on.
How many pets have you got?
Not that many at the moment. I've got a snake.
Snake.
Technically, only one cat is mine, but there's 3 cats in the house.
Uh-huh.
I have a dog that is mine. The chickens aren't mine, but we have 6 chickens. And I used to have 3 fish tanks, but I have none now. I got rid of the fish.
I got rid of fish too. I always used to have fish and they're so much work.
So much
They look like they
work.
shouldn't be work and they are so much work.
There's so much work. I used to have a 6-foot tank and then 2 smaller tanks, and yeah, it was just too much.
People really misjudge how hard it is to keep fish because there is this concept that you just buy a bowl, you fill it with water, you put a fish in it, and they're fine. That's not how it works at all.
No. I used to work in a pet store, and the biggest hassle I had was like Christmas time, and they want to come in and buy their kid a fish, and so they buy like a 16-liter, and they're like, I'm going to put a goldfish in it. And I'm like, first of all, goldfish don't grow to the size of the tank. They stop growing, but their organs keep growing, which is why they only live 2 years instead of a 30-year lifespan. Anyway, I could go on forever about it.
Fish.
But yeah.
I've got a
won't.
good fish story, which
Yeah.
is when I was waitress. Oh, I used to be a wedding coordinator, and there was this phase, sort of 99, 2000, where people had fish on the table, and we banned it after 2 times because this woman had these bowls in the middle of the table. It looked beautiful, candles around it. It was so pretty. These fish swimming all night, but people abused the fish during the wedding, which we would just like stop it and we took them away. And then they had all the fish there lined up on the bar to pick up the next morning. And when the mother-in-law came the next morning to get the fish, she wasn't taking them. And I'm like, well, what's going to happen with all the fish? And she's like, I just flushed them. I'm like, no. So I had 250 fish for the next couple of years. I just had to go buy all these tanks because I'm not flushing fish. I put that in a book once, and then I was like, I'm never having fish again. That was too many fish. And they just broke
250
my heart.
goldfish, yeah.
I had them in every room of the house.
Yeah.
Sucker. I tried to give them away, but no one wanted any.
No,
I'm a little
because
bit
they're goldfish.
stunned.
People are horrible. You learn this about people in weddings. They're lovely, but also horrible. Like,
Yeah,
the
it doesn't
things-
help when people get like so drunk.
and they're trying to feed the fish like cake and stuff. It's like,
People
no.
who just don't consider fish to be, sounds weird to
Animals.
say, but animals?
Yeah.
Like, no, they're alive and they have
Anyway, this gives
feelings
you a
and they can feel
taster
pain
of
and
how
stuff.
great our podcast is going to be.
Yeah,
about
we like
books and-
fish.
That's the benefits. Podcast with benefits is the fish.
We've established we love fish.
250 fish specifically.
250
If we end up
fish.
with lots of tanks in the background.
Fish content.
Yeah.
Abby, what's your PhD about?
Fish.
Oh.
It's
It's not about fish, so tell us.
Did you say it is kind of
It's
about
kind of about animals.
Well, it's
mythical.
about I'm looking into masculinity and romanticy.
And so is it the dragons or the men that are the animals in that situation?
Well, it depends on what romanticy books you're reading. In mine, are hopefully only the dragons. But yeah, I just find a lot of the romantasy men are not my idea of an ideal man, I guess you could put it.
What is your ideal man?
Gilbert Blythe.
Yeah, I'm down with that. I like Gilbert Blythe.
Yeah.
But I guess, I mean, in romantasy, men tend to be kind of alpha, right?
Yeah, I'm looking for cinnamon roll men. So
Yeah.
like my definition of cinnamon roll, but that's a whole.
That's a whole
That's another
episode.
argument.
We'll save
That's a
cinnamon
whole
rolls for a whole
conference
episode.
paper.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, just I don't know, intelligent, soft, kind,
Thoughtful.
thoughtful.
My
happy
agent
to
always talks
cry.
about men who've been through therapy. You want him already healed and well.
Exactly.
Yep. So, segue now to Millie, who does not want a cinnamon roll man, but
No.
may want like a donutty girl person.
All girls are great. I love a
Great.
butch, like conceptually as well. I'd love to see more butches in media, and I mean real butches, not just a skinny white girl with an undercut.
Like
An
a-
undercut and still a full face of makeup. Crucially.
Yes, a full face of makeup is crucial.
Are there any butch romanticies? That seems like it would fit.
There are, like, they exist. They definitely exist. I feel like they exist more in indie than they do in mainstream.
Yeah.
A lot of the mainstream sapphic romances are two femmes or two, you don't have to be femme or masc, just sort of two normal women or girls. I couldn't name a masc romance, I don't think.
How interesting. Well, there you go. Challenge to all those people out there writing sapphic romance.
Also, if anyone has recommendations,
Oh,
please
send
tell
them
us.
in.
'Cause
I think I even put it in my bio, we'll accept sapphic recs.
Yeah.
Because I think there's probably a lot that are just indie, so they're a lot harder to find.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, we haven't properly introduced Dr. Mill, but Millie already has a PhD and is aiming to be a double doctor. You'll be Doctor. Millie
Yes, I
Heffernan.
don't know how that works. Doctor, or maybe Doctor Squared? Or
That would be cool.
Doctor 2.0?
Or you become
You're not very
plural, you
square,
become
though.
doctors, Millie.
I'll become doctors, and then that will help me
Doctors
incorporate
Millie.
the they them, not singular they them.
Anyway, Millie's initial research was on what?
I don't even remember. It's people ask me this, and I go, well, it kind of started as one thing, but then at the end, it wasn't really that anymore.
I remember
It's-
a little bit because I read your manifesto
Oh,
and it was
that's
really
right.
good.
It started out as looking at like secret societies in urban fantasy specifically, and sort of how we have this obsession with being part of secret groups, and how that kind of leads back to cults and like gentlemen's clubs and stuff like that. But then it sort of ended up turning into more of an experiment of how to do a creative writing thesis, and how
And that
As-
was because you kind of came to the point that doing the thesis in the academy was replicating the thing you were fighting against.
Yes, and I really butted heads with the structure of creative and exegesis, as opposed to being able to work your exegesis into the creative, or being able to do your exegesis creatively. So
Can I interrupt quickly? Do you want to explain for punters what an exegesis is?
An exegesis is like a mini thesis, but it's specifically talking about your creative work, your artifact. Obviously, it's not always a book. Some people do all sorts of creative artifacts, but it's explaining either your process or the theory behind why you wrote why you did your artifact. And it's supposed to be as academic as a regular thesis would be. But when you've spent all that time making a creative artifact, it feels so strange to then cut that part of yourself off and write a completely academic thesis, like exegetical part of the thesis. It feels so strange to do that. And so that's kind of what I came up against, and what I
always
tried
felt
to
like-
work with.
I feel like I am being different people. Like the performativity is so strong, right?
Yeah, and you change your voice too, because you have like a creative voice that you use for writing books or novels or short stories or whatever. And then that completely changes when you're writing academic work, and I just hated that. It feels so inauthentic.
Yeah.
It feels like being a fake person. So I didn't
You and
like
Justina
that.
have ended up working with the same theory because, Millie, you really, I thought, started to thrive when you found Jack Halberstam's Queer Art of Failure.
Yes. The Queer Art of Failure, go and check it out at your local library. Completely changed my perspective on academia and academic writing, because his book is all about using pop culture in a very accessible way to talk about theory. Like he uses Chicken Run and other Pixar movies that I can't think of now to talk about like Foucault and stuff. And so I found the book so accessible and I went, oh, this is exactly what I want to do. This is what I want to do. So that was kind of game changing, that book. And then I came to the group and was like, everybody read this. It's amazing.
And then there was a lovely pun in that because you actually did take it and make it a game. You made lots of games.
I did. My exegesis-ish ended up being stuff like a choose your own adventure, and I did a U quiz for all those internet kids out there. And I put together Spotify playlists.
The D&D
I
cards.
turned all my major theorists into D&D wizards. I originally was going to make them monster stat blocks, but then you're like turning black people into it's not good. Not good. So I made them wizard teachers of like a wizard school. That was a lot of fun, which led me to realize that what I'd really wanted to do the whole time was talk about D&D. So that's what the second PhD is just going to be an excuse to talk about D&D for 60,000 words.
Oh, amazing.
I'm so excited for when you start tackling D&D.
Yeah.
You're excited to play D&D.
I really want to play
All of
D&D.
them are.
Yeah, we'll do some sessions. We'll work something out.
Yeah. Look forward to the D&D episode of
Yeah,
Ania.
I think it will happen. I think there's no way that's not happening. So this is 3 of our favourite people who'll be on regularly. Now we're going to talk about this month. We're going to do a deep dive into Jane Austen a little bit because she's turning 250 years old this year. Still a virgin, 250 years later, we think.
Well,
I have to ask because people have been asking me and I couldn't tell them. Is it her 250th birthday? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, birthday.
Great.
So I've written it down. She was born in December 16th, so we've got the whole year to build up to her birthday. But we thought we'd
then we
kick it
can
off.
have a big party on
We
December.
totally
16th.
can. We should all dress up. Bonnets. I don't know. Those pants. I was looking. Okay, so like, let me just get a couple. You look at like the pants these dudes wear, and I feel like I need some advice. But surely they're tucking. Like, how are they?
I actually saw an interesting video about like the men's fashion in that era and how essentially this video was a rant about having shirtless Austen heroes because the shirt is like the last thing they would take off.
Yeah,
'Cause
right.
it is like completely tucked. The shirt is also the undergarments. They're not wearing underwear.
Yeah, right.
They just shove their shirt between their legs.
So they really would be Winnie the Poohing it.
Yeah.
Like a romance.
And so yeah,
So if you were getting to the big scene, they would still have the
unfortunately-
shirt on.
Yeah, like when. Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't remember the TikTok because I truly scroll way too much.
Right.
But
Read the headline like a millennial there, Justine.
yeah, but it was just a rant about adaptations of Austen where the men take off their shirts, and she was like, they wouldn't do that. That's the last thing they would take off.
Things to know. So, what do you know about Jane Austen, people? Any random facts you know?
I was reading she's the 7th of 8 siblings. She's got 6 brothers and 1 sister.
That sounds
That's crazy.
intense.
6 brothers.
Yeah.
6 of them.
6.
A lot.
Yeah.
It's a big family.
I was reading this. I don't know why this stuck in my head, but I was thinking about how, not to diss the English, but the way they have the boarding school system, right? And then the way they used to have wet nurses and stuff. So I was reading their mother breastfed them for like 3 or 4 months, but then they were sent away to a village woman who raised them for 18 months to 2 years. I was like, I wonder what that would have done to your attachment, right? To actually send your babies away like that into the village and not see them.
Well, I mean, isn't that a thing that children only really started to be thought of as people like
Victorian age.
quite late in the game?
Yeah. Yeah, but I did think that's interesting. Like, you think about someone who's written all these books about, and she was interesting for her age about believing in love, like thinking marriage should contain affection and love, and it's not just an economic thing. So, it was interesting, like, how that longing for love, how that might come in.
I wonder if is that a thing that the rich folk do? Like, if you were a poor person, would you be sending your kids?
No, you would be taking children in for money, wouldn't you? You'd probably end up with other
Going
people's
to work
kids.
in the mines at the age of 8 or whatever.
Yeah, that's right.
Children crave the mines.
That's right.
selling papers on the street.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Match girls, they'd be out there selling matches in the cold. Yeah.
This is all perfectly historically researched.
Absolutely,
And accurate, so
yeah.
This is
nobody
not just stuff we
double-check
got
any
off
of this,
Google.
'cause
Yeah.
you could just take our word for it.
Yeah. We don't do fact checking in the 21st century, do we?
No,
Not a thing anymore.
it's illegal on
We
Facebook.
could say
now to
anything.
fact
So then
check.
I've got one of Peyton's questions here. Do you think she's still alive?
I think she's alive in our hearts when we read her books, but no, I don't think she's physically alive.
That was actually beautiful.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not following that up.
All right, I've
She's
got
alive through her novels.
through her novels, which are still in print, which is amazing. I do have a question leading on from that though, which was if Jane Austen was a ghost, since we were talking about ghosts earlier off camera, where do you think she'd be hanging out? She can go anywhere.
I'm going to use this as an excuse to talk about my fun fact about Jane Austen, which is that she hates the city of Bath, which I discovered when I travelled there, and I was so excited to go to the Jane Austen Museum. And the one in Bath is not the one you should go to. You should go to the one that was, her old house has been turned into a museum, which I've not been to.
I went to the one in Bath too.
Yeah,
It
but
was
the one
weird.
It's so weird because every single like plaque is like, maybe Jane lived here, maybe she didn't. She probably lived somewhere on this street. And then it'll be like, Jane famously hated this city, and there'll be like quotes from her books.
Did you go to the talk? We went into the guy talking like he was dressed up in a suit in the front room.
No.
He did it, and he just kind of repeated that. Like Jane would have stayed in a house like this. We don't know that it was this one, even though it's called the Jane Austen Museum, and we don't know it looked like this. And then they take you on a tour of the house that she may or may not have lived on. It was very weird. I was like, give me my money back. Like,
Yeah.
really?
It sounds like reading some theory to me.
So I like
It makes sense though because
It may or may,
may or
not
may
mean
not.
this.
it makes
a third
sense that
meaning,
we
Abby.
know so little about her because, again, I was also just reading. I didn't realize that nothing was published under her name until after she died. So nobody was like keeping tabs on her and where she lived because nobody knew that she wrote these books until after she died. So it makes sense that we know so little about
I like
what
to
she was
think
doing.
She's haunting the Bath
Yeah.
Jane Austen Museum, and she's
Oh, yeah.
standing behind that guy and be like, no, wrong, wrong.
None of this is right.
I mean, you're right. I do hate Bath, but the rest of it is wrong.
I was reading You Can Go Stay, you know, the 1995 adaptation with Colin Firth. Apparently you can go stay there. It's a hotel now. You can go stay in the room. So she could go hang out there. I can imagine her there going, this is pretty cool. People like me this much. Where's
I like
Colin
to think
Firth?
that she'd have her ghost. I like to think Ghost Jane Austen can travel, and she is just on set at every single adaptation filming, just watching.
That's not right.
Like this reveals I know nothing
Yeah.
about Jane Austen or Austen novels because I'm just sitting here like,
This is actually a great moment to introduce that. So for our first book club, which will be on, can't remember the date, didn't write it down, but it's the last Thursday of the month. And we will put the date up somewhere.
Yeah.
I should have written that down. Sometime in March, the last Thursday of March, we're going to be doing Pride and Prejudice. And we thought it'd be fun because Abby has never read it.
no, I've never read any Austen.
So this is going to be fun.
There's a lot of things I haven't read where when you tell somebody that like you read for a living almost, they're like, so have you read this?
Read a lot of other things though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not really like,
I'm really keen to see what you think of it.
yeah.
But you've
I've
seen adaptations, like you've seen movies at all?
I've seen the Keira Knightley one.
Well, yeah.
Did you like it?
I did, yeah. I did really like it. I really like Keira Knightley though, so
Right.
I feel like I might be biased.
You're just imprinting on Kira.
Yeah. So that might be why.
It is interesting. Oh, have you guys watched many of the adaptations?
So many.
Right.
I've
We
watched
should
a fair
save this for
few.
the episode. But have you got a favourite Lizzie Bennet? Like you like Keira Knightley because it's the only one you've seen.
I also love Keira Knightley, and it is potentially because Keira Knightley turned me gay.
Ah, well there you go.
Such a common story. She
Yeah.
didn't turn me gay, and I like the mini-series, the 90s mini-series,
90s
Lizzie.
miniseries.
I don't like it for Colin Firth. I like it for her. And also her mother.
Yeah.
She is a favourite character in our house. We're always working on going, oh, my nerves.
I liked that Julia Swahila. Is that her
Oh,
name?
yeah,
She's
yeah.
much better Lydia, I think.
She was a
Lydia's
great
my
lady.
favourite
And
character.
the Wickham in that is great.
Yeah.
Like, you hate him immediately.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like the Wickham in the Keira Knightley movie's a little weak on that.
Well, I like that the Wickham in the Keira Knightley version, you want to believe that he's this really charming man, because that is kind of the journey that the Bennet sisters go on, of being like, oh, poor Wickham. And then they find out that beneath his like pretty face.
Common theme for Jane Austen because Sense and Sensibility has that. It has the man Marianne's madly in love with, and and then of course he's not.
Willoughby.
Willoughby, that's his name. And I love, my fun fact is that, Emma Thompson wrote that adaptation, and the guy that played Willoughby, the hot one. So she tells the story about when they were auditioning, she and Kate Winslet were sitting there auditioning, and he walked in and they both went, and they were like, that's the guy that has to play Willoughby.
That's
she ended up
funny.
marrying him. Emma Thompson married him, and I
Oh.
love that. It's so nice that she got the guy. Anyway,
He does great in that movie. With that last scene where he's watching the house from over the hills and he's riding on his horse and he looks, because the thing is, like, he's evil and he's terrible, but he's also so devastated that he didn't get to marry Mary
I
Ann.
know,
And
they're
he just
both
does
so
that scene so well.
devastated.
You're like, oh, I almost feel sorry for you, except that I don't.
because you should have married her.
Yeah.
You dick. All right. Here's a little fun fact. I found out the original title for Pride and Prejudice. Millie may know this,
I
so
do
she
know
can't
this.
answer. But you two, try and guess what you think the original title for Pride and Prejudice might have been. 19th century England.
Oh.
It sounds like it could be a novel now, I think, actually. Rom-com title.
I think it really does sound like a book title, maybe from like the 70s.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's got lasting appeal.
My mind has gone
I'm trying to
Wrong
use all
two
those as
people.
clues.
I needed
and I
Kate
just
and
don't
Harry
think
for
I-
this one because I feel like they would have come up with some
It's
truly
kinda like the-
ridiculous things.
I mean, it's the theme of the book, right? But just saying it in a different way.
my brain immediately
Prejudice
went, what's
and
a synonym
pride."
for pride?
Yeah, literally.
No, not quite like that.
and then a synonym for prejudice. That.
Yeah.
Or it's done like an Always Sunny title. Or was it, no, one of those sitcoms, the ones like the
one
one
with
where,
the friends
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
the one where Lizzie falls in love with the guy she didn't like at first. And it turns out he was all right.
That's good. I like that one. We're going to go with that.
Yeah, that's the whole title.
All right. It was actually First Impressions.
Oh.
I wasn't far off, I think.
You went far off.
close.
You did pretty well. I'm pretty impressed with that. Yeah, so what are you most looking forward to people reading along with us? Like if they come along to book club at the end of the month, what do you think we're most looking forward to about this book particularly?
I think this book is one of those books where a lot of people will have seen like the movie or a mini series, but not have read the actual book. And I think it will be funny to see how people like the book, like just if they like it and how similar it is to the movies they've seen. And
Do you have any reading tips for people who don't normally read books from the 19th century? Because it is a different reading style.
My tip is definitely try the audiobook. If audiobooks are something that you like, or even if you like podcasts but you've not tried audio before, I think it gets the cadence of the writing down in a way that if you're not used to reading that style, you might not.
And the
the
humor.
Yeah.
Rosamund Pike version is really good to
That's
listen
the one
to,
I listened to.
because she
It's really
played
good.
Jane in the Keira Knightley movie, and she does a really great job
She has
of
an
reading it.
amazing voice, I have to say. Do you think the humor comes across better too? Because I think it's like teaching Dickens as well. Dickens and Austen have such a kind of humor to them. They're very different. Like Austen's very dry. But you can read it straight and not get any of the humor if you're not looking for it, I think. And once you get the tone, it kind of works.
Because I didn't read the books until I'd started university. When I read I read Northanger Abbey for class, and then I wanted to read more Austen because I found her so funny. Which when I tried to read them as a teenager, I just nothing clicked, and I was like, okay, this isn't for me.
Yeah, I tried to read Emma as a teenager. My mum had this huge book with Gwyneth Paltrow on the front because she was in the movie. I was reading it like, this isn't as funny as the movie. The movie's so funny, but it's because you don't pick up that humor straight away.
Yeah.
You really have to read it thinking like, this is going to be funny.
See, I feel like I never read it when I was young because I always viewed it as like a pretentious novel.
That's
probably
fair.
because of, I guess, the way I assume it's written. I actually have never even opened it and read a page, so I couldn't even tell you. Which makes this reading experience for me really interesting. But I'm glad I'm reading it now because I won't be going into it with that attitude. I think it's funny to view it as pretentious when it's like a romance novel and probably wasn't viewed that way at all.
No, I
Yeah.
find it so easy to read. Like I find the
Yeah.
language very easy to read. And she was writing, people loved it at the time
Yeah.
because it was easier to read.
Yeah.
So
I think also we live in such a quick world, right? Like everything's fast. And when you write now for a general audience, you're trying for paciness, like incredible paciness. But actually this is designed to be read very slowly. Like you can't race through it in the same way.
yeah.
Anyway, we're going to run out of time. we've been chatting so much about fish and about
sorry.
Bath and about
Through 5
haunting.
minutes with fish.
Yeah. I feel like your fish would have loved you reading Austen aloud to them, though. I'm sure they would have loved it.
Can they hear? Oh, wait, no.
Now we can really get into
We
it.
can't get into it.
We don't have time, but we could run an experiment where we play Rosamund Pike to a fish tank and see how they react.
Yeah.
Science.
Yeah, no longer just a podcast. Now we do experiments.
That's the benefit, people. You get experiments. Anyway, we're going to say goodbye now, and we'll see you guys next week. But welcome to Amy and. This has been a weird first episode, but that's probably how it's going to roll.
Yeah.
So
Welcome.
So Justina, Abby, Millie and I have been glad to chat to you, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.